Islam, Islam, Islamism. Bismillah, ar-Rahman, ar-Rahim. First and foremost, I'd like to rise to my highest heights and give all perfect praise to our Father God Allah, acknowledging our ancestors, known and unknown, recognizing and naming all true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, and the last prophet in these days and times, our illustrious Hebrew prophet, noble Jew Ali, in his first, second, and third form. I would like to remain standing and extend those honors to our National Grand Sheikh, Joel Bratton Bey, all national officials at headquarters in Baltimore, Maryland, all sheiks, sheikesses, deputy sheiks, and deputy sheikesses, and all of our friends, visitors, guests, citizens, members, children. I greet you all with Islam. Today's date, for the record, is February 28th, 2021, according to the Gregorian calendar. And as always, we open with paying homage to our Mother, Father, God, Allah. So can I please have everyone who is able to stand erect, facing towards the east, heels together, toes apart, separated at a 45-degree angle, upper arms parallel to the floor, forearms perpendicular, 5 fingers erect and together on the left, and 2 fingers erect and together on the right. Allah, Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Jew Ali. Amen. And we would like to welcome you all to our National Town Hall Educational Forum call, being brought to you by the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America Incorporated, number 13, the Moorish American National Republic, under the guidance and direction of our National Grand Sheikh, Joel Bratton Bey, and I am the moderator for this evening's call. I am Brother Cornelius Sanders Bey, calling out of Lake County, Florida Republic, and we will be going into our administrative announcements. The first administrative announcement will be given by myself. On behalf of the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America Incorporated, number 13, the Moorish American National Republic, I would like to thank the guests that are on this Moorish National Town Hall meeting, and we thank you for joining us this evening. Our prophet, Noble Jew Ali, founded the ancient Canaanite temple in 1913 in Essex County, New Jersey. Later, in 1916, his missionary work was entitled the Moorish Divine and National Movement. In 1917, he transferred the movement to Cook County, Illinois. In 1925, the temple was called the Moorish Temple of Science. In 1926, the temple was incorporated as a civic organization. In 1927, the temple was unofficially adopted as the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. Our prophet, Noble Jew Ali, stated that the Negro problem is being solved only as it can, and that is by the Moorish Divine and National Movement. If you have a nation, you must have a free national name in order to be recognized by this nation as an American citizen. After lawfully connecting with the private international law of the Pan American Conference in 1928, the temple's name was changed to the Moorish Science Temple of America. The temple was then incorporated as a religious organization under the Illinois Revised Statutes in Cook County, giving the temple and its members national and international power. During this same period of time, unfaithful members of the Moorish Science Temple of America in Chicago and Detroit conspired to destroy the positive existence of the movement, causing great confusion. This is the reason for the misunderstanding of the national side of the movement amongst all Moorish Americans until this very day. Our prophet, Noble Jew Ali, stated that Chicago is doomed and Detroit must go down for what they did to I, your prophet. Afterwards, in 1929, our prophet, Noble Jew Ali, made his transition to the plane of soul. Our purpose of establishing this meeting on Sundays is to properly educate people on what the Negro problem really is, and to educate people concerning the national side of the movement of our prophet, Noble Jew Ali, so that you may receive a clear understanding of it. Our prophet noble Jew Ali also stated, "Come all ye Asiatics of America and hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights, because you are not negroes." In other words, all calling themselves negroes, black people, colored folk, Afro-American, Latino, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, or any other such names that delude to slavery. You are not these. Your nationality has been taken away from you, and your birthrights have been stolen from you by way of your original birth certificate, social security card, and your state ID/driver's license, which is why clear color copies, both front and back from these, is required from you when applying for Moorish American citizenship as you transform from your lower self to your higher self while working towards your actual freedom and becoming free national Moorish American citizens. You have ignorantly contracted into the jurisdiction of the federal U.S. government corporation. Thus, your nationality is United States. You have surrendered your free national state citizenship by registering yourself voluntarily as a beneficiary of the U.S. government corporation by way of your birth certificate, which is an unrevealed trust account instrument placing you in commerce with the federal U.S. Federal U.S. citizens are not citizens at all. They are subjects and property of the District of Columbia, residents and franchisees of the so-called bankrupt U.S. government corporation under municipal law. The Constitution for the U.S.A., the Bill of Rights, and the 13th Amendment with its 20 sections does not apply to federal U.S. citizens. Federal U.S. citizens are subjects and property under statutory, admiralty, and maritime law, as well as martial law under the undisclosed presumption of an international contract. Federal U.S. citizens have no constitutional protections or unalienable rights. They only have granted privileges by the U.S. government corporation. Legal persons born or naturalized in the federal U.S. were made exclusively by the 14th Amendment after the Civil War. The 14th Amendment was never lawfully ratified and therefore unconstitutional. Our prophet Noble Jew Ali held up the red flag with the five-pointed green star in the center in his right hand. This is our national flag. It is poorly misunderstood as the flag of Morocco. It is properly comprehended as the Moorish flag. He also held up the 48-star flag of the U.S.A. in his left hand. This is our flag of peace, friendship, and commerce within the states of the Union under the Republican form of government in this country. The 50-star flag of the U.S. with gold fringes around it does not represent free national Moorish American citizens. Social Security benefits and the income tax are voluntary contracts made mandatory for federal government employees and U.S. citizens who receive benefits from the federal government corporation. Asiatics are the Aboriginal indigenous inhabitants of America. However, due to the fact that the Asiatics' birthrights have been stolen and we have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government, being placed in a chattel property status because of the reorganization of the U.S. with the New Deal in 1933, the Asiatics are now aliens, not to this country, but to all free national governments. We encourage everyone to become a naturalized Moor and register with the Moorish National Bureau of Vital Statistics in order to become part and parcel of this free national government. In this way, you are under the divine authority of our honorable prophet, Noble Jew Ali, being under the jurisdiction of the Emancipation Proclamations of President Abraham Lincoln, inclusive of the 13th Amendment with its 20 sections, and not under federal jurisdiction, making your identity and your nationality Moorish American. The bankruptcy of the United States is a fraud. The Uniform Commercial Code administers this fraudulent bankruptcy. So those who undergo the UCC 1 financing statement and its further paperwork applications become a party to this fraud and disconnect themselves from the divine authority of our honorable prophet Noble Jew Ali, which is the conspiracy of the international banking cartel against us Moorish Americans. Also, having a seat in the United Nations is a trap. This places you under the controls of the cartels of Europe as well. Furthermore, a government that is a democracy is a trick because this type of government is not of the common people, for the common people, nor by the common people. Educating the masses on these issues in order for the Asiatics to become functionally active is of the utmost importance for the progress and growth of the Moorish Divine and National Movement. For more information, visit our website, www.moorishamericannationalrepublic.com. During this meeting, we would like our guests to remain muted if you are not speaking. This will prevent background noise coming from you as these calls are being recorded. When you want to speak, press the star button twice to unmute your phone and state your name and where you are calling from. You may submit your questions to our email, townhall@moorishamericannationalrepublic.com. Again, that's townhall@moorishamericannationalrepublic.com. So your questions will be answered in the order in which they are received, as email questions supersede direct questions from the audience. We would like our guests to continue to attend these meetings, and please invite your family members, associates, and friends to attend these meetings. And that will conclude our first administrative announcement. Our next administrative announcement will be coming by way of our National Inaugural Sunday School, and it'll be given by our beloved daughter Angel, Sister Ariana Sanders Bay. Islam there, beloved. You can press star star, and you have the floor.
Islam.
Islam, beloved, you sound loud and clear, your vibrations are strong, and you have the floor.
Islam, this is Sister Ariana Sanders Bay, calling from the Florida Republic. First, I would like to rise to my heights of height, giving all perfect praise to our Mother, Father, God, Allah, and giving homage to all the true and divine prophets, namely Jesus, Muhammed, Buddha, Confucius, and the last prophet in these days and times, our illustrious Hebrew prophet, Noble Drew Ali, in his first, second, and third form. I would like to remain standing and extend those honors to our National Grand Chief, Joe Barton Bay, all national officials at headquarters in Baltimore, Maryland, all sheiks, sheikesses, deputy sheikesses, and to all that are on the call. Islam. The Divine and National Movement of North America, Incorporated number 13, the Moorish American National Republic, expects the presence of all members and invites the public to join us every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for our Moorish Sunday class conference call. Please join us by calling 443-961-4434. All Moors currently naturalized through the Moorish American National Republic and who have not already done so are requested to forward an email to manrsundayschool@gmail.com. This will confirm your registration and allow you to receive your information packet. Please include the names of all children, their ages, birthdays, and school grades. Also, we are requesting that members send us family pictures for posting on our websites, pictures of Moorish families studying, playing, working, etc., and in unity. This is highly desirable. Please be advised that submission of your photo constitutes your permission to post. To submit your photo, send via email to sundayschool@moorishamericannationalrepublic.com. Again, the Moorish American National Republic Sunday School conference call is at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we invite the public to please join us by calling 443-961-4434. We had a powerful and divine class today. You can listen to today's class at www.moorishamericannationalrepublic.com. We look forward to exercising our five senses together with you, manifesting guidance for our nation. Islam and peace.
Islam. And thank you for that administrative announcement, beloved. Our next administrative announcement will be coming by way of our Moorish School Law and History Board of Education and be given by our good sister, Carla Green Eel. Islam there, beloved sister. You can press star star and you have the floor.
Islam.
Islam, Sister Carla Green Eel. Your vibrations is strong and clear. Trusting all is well with you and the family, and you have the floor.
Islam, and thank you, Brother Cornelius Sanders Bay. Islam family, this is Sister Carla Green Eel from the Massachusetts Commonwealth. I rise to my highest heights and give all perfect praise to the Mother, Father, God of the universe, Allah. I give honors to our ancestors, known and unknown, recognizing and naming all true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, and the last prophet in these days and times, our illustrious Hebrew prophet, noble Jew Allah, in his first, second, and third form. Extending honors to our National Grand Sheikh, Joel Bratton Bey, all national and local officials, all sheikhs, sheikesses, deputy sheikhs, deputy chief sheikesses, all of our children, students, members, guests, and citizens, I greet you all with Islam. Please remain muted for this very important announcement. Peace and greetings. The Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America Incorporated, number 13, the Moorish American National Republic, requires from everyone desiring to proclaim their Moorish American nationality to fill out and complete an application for Moorish American citizenship and 3 course registration forms, which I'll explain later. Many people question, why do we have to fill out paperwork and submit copies of our personal documents? This is the reason. We must know who you are, your background, previous affiliations, work history, physical abilities, education, skills, training, etc. First of all, these documents do not belong to you. They belong to the federal government. So you must remember that in their jurisdiction, you are an artificial corporation under civil rights and granted privileges. Secondly, we require these documents because once you are a free national Moorish American citizen, your file will be in the Moorish National Bureau of Vital Statistics, which is set up for each natural person. These Moorish documents that you'll be receiving at the time of your naturalization are prepared from these documents. The most important page in the application is the self-audit page. This allows you to make sure you know the appropriate attire to wear during naturalization and are submitting the required documents, fees, and photos. The documents must be clear colored copies for clarity and authenticity. The photos must be passport size. We use the photos for your nationality and ID card. Please have your national and religious headdress on and write your name on the back of the photos. The application process is reviewed each week because applications are received in the National Registrar's office either with incomplete applications, no photos, or no documents. If a question on the application does not apply to you, place N/A, not applicable. This lets us know that you did read the question but did not omit it. We must read and follow instructions and learn to ask questions if we do not comprehend what is being said. The second part of the process is enrolling into the Moorish School of Law and History by registering for the 3 courses with the following completed forms. 1. A warning from the Prophet class form. 2. Be it known class form. 3. Nationality and ID card class form. 4. Course rules and agreement form. Visit our website, www.moorishamericannationalrepublic.com, and download the application and registration forms. These forms will have the full instructions, requirements, and prerequisites for the classes. Also, mail with your application an updated copy of your resume. You are not paying for your nationality. Your nationality is free of charge. You are paying for the cost of enrolling in the Moorish School of Law and History, just as one pays tuition when enrolling into a college or a university. The costs are also directed to the application processes of the preparation of your documents, as you'll receive these once you've completed the courses. It takes finances to raise a nation, and it takes finances to maintain and operate an educational forum. This concludes the administrative announcement by way of the Moorish School of Law and History. I return the floor to the moderator. Islam and peace.
Islam. And thank you for that administrative announcement. Our good sister Carla Green Ill. Appreciate you much, beloved. Our next administrative announcement will be coming by way of our good brother Michael Simpson Ill Jr. with our warning. Islam there, beloved brother. You can press ***, and you have the floor.
Islam there, good brother Sanders Bay. Can you hear me?
Islam there, brother Michael Simpson Ill. I can hear you loud and clear. Your vibrations are strong. Trusting all is well with you and the family, and you have the floor.
All is truly well with me and the family, and all is truly well with you and the family.
Indeed, beloved, giving thanks. You have the floor.
Thank you, my man. Much honor and gratitude. Brother Michael Simpson L. Jr., calling out of Wayne County, Michigan Republic. First, I'd like to rise to my highest heights, giving all perfect praise to our Mother, Father, God, Allah, to all our ancestors, spoken and unspoken, naming and honoring all true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammed, Buddha, and Confucius, and our last prophet in these days and times, our illustrious Hebrew prophet, our great Redeemer, Noble Jew Ali, in his first, second, and third form. I'd also like to extend those honors to our headquarters in Baltimore, Maryland, Temple number 13, our National Grand Sheikh, Joe Bratton Bay, to all our national officials, sheikhs, sheikesses, deputy sheikhs, and deputy sheikesses, and to all our family, friends, guests, citizens, and to our illustrious future, our children, I greet you all with Islam. This administrative announcement is coming by way of our Sergeant at Arms Administration. Warning, if any persons, groups, or companies claiming to represent the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Incorporated, number 13, the Moorish American National Republic, in any way and offering to sell you such things as the application for Moorish American citizenship, naturalization paperwork, nationalization paperwork, trust documents with the Moorish American National Republic's logos, passports, diplomatic appointments, diplomatic papers, diplomatic motor vehicle license plates, driver's licenses, titles of nobility, doctorates or other educational titles, business banking licenses, tax shelters, tax identification cards, or the likeness of any of these, please contact the Moorish National Bureau of Investigation at area code 410-501-7301. I repeat, area code 410-501-7301. Immediately, violators will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. The members in the grand body of the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Incorporated, number 13, the Moorish American National Republic, are not sovereign citizens, nor Moorish nationals. The Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Incorporated, number 13, the Moorish American National Republic is not, I repeat, is not a sovereign citizens movement. This administrative announcement comes by way of our Solicitor General, National Grand Sheikh, Joe Bratton Bay. And that concludes the reading of this administrative announcement. Islam, there, good brother Sanders Bay, the floor is yours. Islam?
Islam. And thank you for that administrative announcement, our good brother Michael Simpson L. Jr. Appreciate you much, beloved. Islam. All right. Our next administrative announcement will be coming by way of our Deputy Sheikess, Alyssa Thomas Bay, with our caveat emptor. Islam there, beloved sister. You can press ***, and you have the floor.
Islam, brother. All is well?
Islam Deputy Sheikess, Alyssa Thomas Bay. All is truly well. Trusting all is well with you and the family. It's always a pleasure to hear your vibrations strong and clear, and you have the floor.
Giving thanks, brother. Islam, this is Deputy Sheikess Alyssa Thomas Bay, calling out of the New York Republic. First, I'd like to rise. I give all perfect praises to Allah, all of the divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius, our prophet in these days and time, Prophet Noble Jew Ali, our National Grand Sheikh, Joe Bratton Bay, all of our national officials, all of our sheikesses, deputy sheikhs, deputy sheikesses, members, citizens, students, and guests. I greet you all with Islam. Notice to the public, let the buyer beware. Caveat emptor. Moors are men upright, independent, and fearless, who care for their loved ones and follow the prophet to a destiny which is not uncertain nor unknown. They are fortified by the impregnable doctrine built upon love,
truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It is therefore folly at its greatest heights for smelly culprits with their insidious plans to invade such realms. They try, but their own bad planning brings down wrath upon their head, like the sword old Damocles had. Intrigue and scurrilous cunning find a difficult path to travel within the ranks of the Moors. This is so because the Moorish movement has been well planned by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, whose latent powers are abundant, unknown, and may be called into action as a matter of defense at any moment. Prophet Noble Drew Ali knows the people within his ranks who are interested. They are vanguard of the movement as the Moorish hordes increase here in America. All of the Moors are active, not passive. A member's interest can only be in one direction, and having traveled over the road years before the Prophet knows where every member is along the road. A few feet below is another road where schemers walk, where traders grin, and culprits bask in the sun. They think they are on the same road with the true Moors, but the Moors are high above on the pinnacle, where they might view the destructionists as they fall for the last time and their bones bleach in the sultry midday sun. Hungry scavengers fly high, catch scent, devour, and leave crying out, caveat emptor, cast out the dead carcass. The Moors high above see these plotters, purveyors, the worst that exists, hurl themselves downward by their own words as the hawks await. By Prophet Noble Drew Ali. The Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Inc., number 13, Moorish American National Republic, advises the public with the words of warning written by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. The caveat emptor article message is the same today in 2021 as when written in 1928. We have been contacted by various natural persons who have sent funds to individuals and organizations. Said funds paying for various documents. Said individuals and organizations have no affiliation with the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Inc., number 13, Moorish American National Republic. Be hereby advised, the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Inc., number 13, Moorish American National Republic, does not sell documents of any type. Again, we do not sell documents. Again, be hereby notified that said individuals and organizations have no affiliation with our organization, the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Inc., number 13, Moorish American National Republic. Some of said organizations have mirrored names which read closely to ours. Therefore, pay close attention to whom it is you are sending your funds, as the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Inc., number 13, Moorish American National Republic, carries no liability for funds sent to these individuals and organizations. There may be others, yet the two I'm about to list have repeatedly been cited by those natural persons as the parties to whom funds were sent on the guise of sending said funds to our organization. R.V. Bay Publications, Moorish National Republic, the Federal Government, Moorish Divine and National Movement of the World, the Moorish Science Temple of America. We will update this list as necessary. Trustly, the public is advised. Let the buyer beware. That concludes my administrative announcement. I return the floor to the moderator. Islam and peace.
Islam. And thank you for that administrative announcement, our Deputy Sheikess Alyssa Thomas Bay. Appreciate you much, beloved. Our next administrative announcements will be coming by way of our good sister Norma Solomon Ill with our National Holy Night call and our Sisters Auxiliary call. Islam there, beloved sister, you can press star, and you have the floor.
Islam.
Islam, good sister Norma Solomon Ill. Your vibrations is strong and clear. Trusting all is well with you and the family, and you have the floor.
Praise Allah. All is truly well with me and my family. Glad to know all is truly well with you and yours, as well as all of the announcers before me. Islam. Islam family, this is Sister Norma Solomon Ill, calling out of the Bronx County in the New York Republic. First and foremost, I rise to my highest height, giving all perfect praise and the highest honor to Allah, the Mother, Father, God of the universe, extending honors to all true and divine prophets, naming Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, and to our illustrious Hebrew prophet in this new era of time, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, in his first, second, and third form. I remain standing, extending honors to our National Grand Sheikh, Joel Bratton Bey, to all of our grand body, to our officials, national and local, to our sheikesses, our sheiks, our deputy sheikesses, our deputy sheiks, to all of our citizens, members, students, children, and any guests that may be on the call this evening. I greet all in and with Islam. The first administrative announcement I have to give is coming by way of our National Holy Night Conference call. Islam or Muslims, the public is invited to join us in our National Holy Night Conference call Friday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you live in an area without a temple, or you are unable to attend your local Holy Night meetings, our National Holy Night Conference call is here for you. We invite the public and all members to join our National Holy Night Conference call at 443-961-4434 every Friday, as we celebrate the closing of one creation and the opening of the next. Come give thanks to your creatrix, creator, and exercise your five senses, celebrating and commemorating the divine unity of Holy Night. 443-961-4434 every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. See you at our Holy Night meeting. The next administrative announcement I have to give is coming by way of our sister auxiliary, Islam. The Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, Inc., number 13, the Moorish American National Republic is delighted to announce our upcoming conference call dedicated to the uplift of Moabitist members of this divine and national movement under the leadership of our National Grand Sheikh, Joe Bratton Bey, and the nobles of our grand body. Our conference call's purpose is to create a network system amongst our feminine energies, showcasing the array of talents we, the sisters in this body, have to offer. We are calling on every sister in our organization to heed this call, partake in this uplifting act, and be an active spoke in the wheel of this Moorish Republic. Come and familiarize yourself with your sisters and reap the benefits of membership of this national body that is committed to bring about the positive change necessary to facilitate the uplifting of fallen humanity. We encourage our sisters to get involved and support this demonstration. The Moorish American National Republic Sisters Auxiliary is requesting the help and support of all our brothers and sisters to donate to our fundraising, Life Pen, and Tag Day celebration demonstrations. Show pride in your movement and support the Sisters Auxiliary as we assist in the uplifting of fallen humanity by donating $1 for a Life Pen, $3 for a tag, and $5 for a magnet. All three are designed to inspire, unite, and encourage dialogue about this great movement and our illustrious Hebrew prophet, Noble Drew Ali. This Moorish regalia can be viewed on our website, www.moorishamericannationalrepublic.com. Simply go to the resources tab and choose the sister auxiliary option. If interested in joining the sister auxiliary or any member wishing to order regalia, you can send an email to sisterauxiliary13@gmail.com. That's sisterauxiliary13@gmail.com. Please make note of your request in the subject line, whether it's membership, life pins, tags, or magnets. Please give your contact information, including your email, address, and phone number. Our next meeting will be held on Thursday, March the 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That concludes the announcements I have to give. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Brother Cornelius Sanders Day. Islam and peace, family.
Islam. And thank you for those administrative announcements. Our good sister Norma Solomon Ill. Appreciate you much, beloved. At this time, if there's any announcements from any of our national officials, you can press ***, and you have the floor.
Islam.
Islam, that sounds like Sheikh Lawrence Young Bey.
Islam, oh. Islam, how are you and the family?
All is truly well. All is truly well. Trusting all is well with you and the family as well. Sounding good. It's always a pleasure to hear your vibration, and you have the floor.
It's good to hear yours too, brother. Me and the family is doing well. My name is Sheikh Lawrence Young Bey, National Treasurer and Divine Minister out of the North Carolina Republic. First, I rise giving all perfect praise to Allah and to our ancestors. Some we know of, some we don't. To all our true and divine prophets. Just to name a few: Jesus, Muhammed, Buddha, and Confucius. And the last prophet in these days and times, our Redeemer, our illustrious Hebrew prophet, Noble Drew in the first form, second form, and the third form. I extend my honors to the forerunner for Noble Drew, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and to our National Grand Sheikh, Grand Sheikh Joe Bratton Bey, the Sheikhs, Sheikesses, Deputy Sheikesses, brothers, sisters, and parents and students in our Sunday school, and everyone on the call. I greet you all with love and peace, peace, peace. Islam, Islam, Islam. This administrative announcement is to the members. When mailing your dues, please include your dues card with a photocopy of your dues card. In the upper right-hand corner of your dues card, you will see the letters DON and a blank line, which stands for the date of naturalization. Write the date of your naturalization on that line. If it's not written, subhanAllah, if it's not written in the right-hand corner, write the date that you were naturalized in the right-hand corner. Make 2 copies. Keep 1 copy for your record. Include the month and year you're paying your dues. Also, if you change your address, please indicate so with a note when you mail your dues card. This is so we can update and mark the records correctly. This concludes my administrative announcement for the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America Incorporated, number 13, Moorish American National Republic. I turn it back into the hands of the moderator. You have it. Brother Cornelius Sanders Bay, thanks for the time, my brother. Peace and blessings.
Islam. And thank you for that administrative announcement, Sheikh Lawrence Young Bay. Appreciate you much, beloved.
Appreciate you too, brother.
Islam. At this time, if there's any of our national officials that have an announcement, you can press star star and you have the floor. Islam. Well, we don't have any more administrative announcements or any announcements coming from our national officials, so we can get into tonight's questions. At this time, it's currently 8:11 p.m. We have a total of 46 lines on the call. We'd like to thank you all for your presence and your energies, because you could have been anywhere, but you're here with us this evening, and we definitely appreciate you and your presence. And we're going to get into these questions and get some dialogue going. Our first question on the floor for this evening reads, what is the difference between using Moorish Science Temple of America and Moorish Science Temple the Prophet switched up in Act 7? Islam, you can press star star, state your name and where you're calling from. What's the difference between using Moorish Science Temple of America and Moorish Science Temple the Prophet switched up in Act 7? Islam? Islam? What is the difference between using Moorish Science Temple of America and Moorish Science Temple the Prophet switched up in Act 7? Islam?
Islam, Brother Sanders Bay. Islam.
Islam, Sheikh Orton Bay.
Islam, beloved.
You have the floor.
Yeah. Appreciate you more. Islam Morris, this is your good brother, Sheikh Isaiah Orton Bay, calling out of Wayne County, Michigan Republic. First and foremost, I'd like to rise to my highest heights, give all perfect praise to our Mother, Father, God of the universe, whom we Moors refer to as Allah, remaining standing and extending those honors to all of our ancestors, known and unknown, naming, recognizing all true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammed, Buddha, Confucius, our last prophet in these last days and times, our illustrious Hebrew prophet, the Honorable Prophet Noble Jew Allah, first, second, and third form, remaining standing and extending those same honors to our national officials at headquarters under the guidance and direction of our National Grand Sheikh, Joe Bratton Bay, all of our sheiks, sheikesses, deputy sheiks, deputy sheikesses, our staff, our citizens, members, family, friends, and associates. I greet you all with Islam, Islam, Islam. All right, your brother Sanders Bay, let me hear that question one more time.
Indeed. The question reads, what is the difference between using Moorish Science Temple of America and using Moorish Science Temple the Prophet switched up in Act 7? Islam, I was having a problem just understanding the question because it seems kind of rhetorical, but yeah, that's Islam.
All right, what is the difference between the Moorish Science Temple and difference from Act 7? I'm gonna get the information just to bring it to the floor.
Yeah, it says what the difference between using Moorish Science Temple of America and Moorish Science Temple. Then it says the Prophet switched up in Act 7. I wasn't clear on what they were trying to say. Islam?
Okay. All right, so what I'll do for our listening audience, what I'll do is I'll read from our Divine Constitution and Bylaw, Act 7. Okay. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God, Allah. All right, so in reference to the question, what is the difference between Moorish Science Temple and the Moorish Science Temple of America that's stated in Acts 7? So I'm not for sure. Hopefully the questioner is on the line. I'm not for sure what the question. Islam.
Pardon, so Brother Mainstream Grade Bay 44, didn't mean to interrupt, but I think they was reading from the additional laws, Act 7. I'm just looking at it, and it states that in there. It's not in the divine constitution and bylaws. It's the additional laws, Act 7. Islam?
Additional laws. Okay. Do you have additional laws with you, good brother? Could you let me see? I might have it with me.
Islam, yes, I have it in front of me.
Okay, I do as well. Okay, never mind. Appreciate you, good brother Mainstream Grade Bay 44. All right, Islam. Again, like I said, it can be a typo. I am seeing it. All members, Act 7, I'll read this one for the listening audience also. Act 7, this one is coming out of our little Bulu pamphlet, the questionnaire and additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Jew Ali, and Act 7 reads, all members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband, take care of your children, and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God, Allah. Islam. All right, so what is the difference between what's read in Acts, what's seen in Acts 6, a divine constitution and bylaws? That's not what the question said, but it may be a typo. The America part is not in the additional laws and part at 7. You don't see the word America. So Prophet Noble Jew Ali established this is the adopted corporate name that was adopted. So if the audience or anyone have our authority on the back, this is the adopted name that Prophet Noble Jew Ali and the other sheikhs that were appointed came together and came up with the agreement of the Moorish Science Temple of America. That's the corporate name. But we can see the transition from what Prophet Noble Jew Ali established. We know that Prophet Noble Jew Ali in 1913 established the Holy Canaanite Temple. All right, and then it went through its process and became the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. All right, but these were different attributes that the prophet was laying down. So once we get into and understand our authority, we know that Prophet Noble Jew Ali established and put his divine authority on the record using the Religious Corporation Act. All right, and at the back of our authority, which is the front and science, it says at the bottom, see Herd's Revised Statutes, chapters 32 and 36. All right, so when we go into the Religious Corporation Act of 1872, if I'm not mistaken, but the Religious Corporation Act, and see those two components that Prophet Noble Jew Ali utilized to establish his divine authority and put it on the record. He used society and adoption. So I'm going this way because from a society, Prophet Noble Jew Ali, being the genius citizen that he was, he knew that a government could form. So he had to go through the process. At first, it started off as a non-for-profit organization. He was teaching his people about their nationality and their divine creed, all right, bringing our religious freedom back to the forefront. Then we go through the process of going and coming under the transitioning out of the non-profit state, all right, to, let's go to our authority, a corporation, religious affidavit of organization, all right, and the form number is 1099, and that was filed in the state of Illinois in the county of Cook, August 1st, 1928 at 2:52 p.m. All right, so once we looking at or studying the components of what Prophet Noble Jew Ali did, again, from a society, a government conformed. So he went through those different channels to establish us in 1928 and put it on the divine record. Hence, from there, we are to form ourselves back into a nation state under these divine laws and the divine authority of Prophet Noble Jew Ali. All right, so prime example, the Moorish Science Temple of America, that is the foundation. That cannot change. Ours, the Moorish Science Temple, the divine and national movement of North America. That gives you the whole jurisdiction, North America. All right? That's including Canada. That's including Central and South America also. But the charter is North America, this whole Western hemisphere. All right? The Prophet has that jurisdiction. He took the land back when he put this authority or put his authority on the record. He nationalized the land and opened up the door for us to naturalize as citizens according to what? Our genealogy. All right, so every man must be returned, and every man to his family, and every man must be returned to his possessions. Again, coming under that religious freedom. So it's no difference from what is in here. Like I said, it may just be a typo that the America is not in here, but the Prophet established our foundation as the Moorish Science Temple of America, and that's our foundation, and we are to grow and to build upon that wheel, as you see that was done by our good brother John Givens Ill, who gave the green light to Grand Sheep Richardson Dingle Ill to do what? Establish our Moorish National Bureau of Vital Statistics, all right, which is recognized by the military and the Navy. We have a record group number 147. So you will be able to, going through the Moorish School of Law and History, you will be able to see these intricate components that was put in place to do what? Establish our government, to connect us back to what? Our free national government, or that constitutional fold that we fell from due to the fact that we strayed after the gods of Europe whom we knew nothing of, and we accepted, adopted, and clinged to these diluted names that pertains to slavery. So it's coming upon us to understand our prophet's literature, understand what he established, how he established it, why he established it, so we can see as true genius American citizens what needs to be done in our efforts to do what? Deal with this one supreme issue, and that's through recognition. So the Moorish Science Temple of America is the foundation. There's no difference, just from my observation and seeing what I'm seeing in front of me. I think it may just be a typo or some words was left out. With that, good brother Sanders Bay, I put a period behind my statement. Yield the floor back to you, family. Islam.
Islam. And thank you for that beautiful demonstration and commentary, good brother Sheikh Orton Bay, for that clarity. And brother Mainstream Gray Bay 44 also. Appreciate you both much. Islam. If there's anyone who has any questions, comments, concerns, or anyone that would like to add on to what has already been stated, the floor is now open. You can press ***, state your name and where you're calling from. Sheikh Orton Bay gave us a beautiful, beautiful demonstration and straightened it out and cleaned it up. And if at this time, if we're satisfied with that, question, we'll move on to our second question. Islam. Our second question on the floor reads, why is it Moors never speak on ill or recognize him? Islam, you can press **, state your name and where you're calling from. Why is it Moors never speak on ill or recognize him? Islam, you can press **, state your name and where you're calling from.
Amazulu, Alabama Republic.
Islam, sister,
Peace.
you have the floor.
This is my first call.
Islam, sister. Yeah, so how it works, we have a question, the question I just read that's on the floor. So if you would like to answer to the question, then that's when you would speak. You would come on, unmute your line, state your name and where you're calling from, and then you'll proceed to answer the question. Islam?
Okay, I didn't hear the question. Okay.
Would you like for me to read the question?
I haven't started the class. I'm not quite sure if I'd be qualified to answer, but I would like to hear the question.
Islam, sister. The question reads, why is it Moors never speak on ill or recognize him? Islam?
Okay, I don't know who that is, so I'm going to mute myself out, okay?
Islam, sister. Islam. All right. Why is it Moors never speak on ill or recognize him? Islam. We have a total of 58 lines on the call, and definitely appreciate you all for your presence and your energies. But let's get some dialogue going. It sounds like I'm the only one speaking. This is a public call for us all to come together and speak. Islam?
Islam?
Islam, brother.
Islam. And gratitude for the acknowledgement. This is your brother Kason Bay from the Texas Republic. High honors to each and every Muslim on the line, including yourself. Peace and love for Akoni Malu. I would just like to say, I'm not quite sure why Supreme Grand Sheikh, the first Supreme Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple of America, I'm not quite sure why he's not spoken of more often, but I think that it would really be a point of contention for some, but really more so a point of conversation for all. I think all need to understand how it is established, how it works, and who the prophet gave the authority to solely and first, the Supreme Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Il. I think it is absolutely important that if it's not spoke upon, that we should probably start it. So he was the first Supreme Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple of America and solely given the authority of the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1928 or 1929. With that, I put a period on it and close. Islam.
Islam. And thank you for your demonstration, my good brother, and getting the ball started and getting us rolling. All right.
Islam.
At the time, Islam.
Islam's Deputy Sheikh Brother Roy Bey. I want to rise to my highest height and give praise to Allah, the great God of the universe, who is almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible, the universal governor of this world seen and worlds that are unseen. I give honors to John the Harbinger, also known to us as the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, both harbinger and forerunner to the prophet. I give honors to all true and divine prophets, naming Jesus, Muhammed, Buddha, and Confucius. I give honors to all the Asiatic Muslims on the call tonight. I extend those honors to National Grand Sheikh Brother Joe Bratton Bay, our executive government, headquartered out of Baltimore, Maryland, and the highest of which the Prophet Noble Drew Ali in the first, second, and third form, Islam. Well, there's been an ongoing controversy about Brother Emily Ill in terms of his recognition in the Moorish movement. And it should not be taken by the mind of the curious that Brother Emily Ill is not recognized as the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's first choice. So to the questioner, there you have it. We do recognize Brother Emily L. Just like we recognize Kirkman Bay and John Givens L. And just like we recognize you. All of us are recognized here. But I see that we want to carry on this spirit that, because we follow the demonstration of the reincarnated prophet John Givens Ill. So we come over here to bring up this type of question about Brother Emily Ill. Indeed, he was the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's first choice. We make no bones about that, but look at some of the historical records. Brother who asked the question, Brother Emily Ill, he made his transition technically right after the prophet. He didn't even stick around long enough to do enough work. So someone had to pick up that mantle. I mean, can you tell us some of the words, some of the deeds that Brother Supreme Grand Sheikh Emily Ill laid out as demonstrations for the Moors to get behind? His time was up in terms of his physical manifestation. He passed form. John Givens Ill stepped up based on a reincarnated degree and did what he had to do and put forth some good works that we can still build upon today. But it doesn't take away from no Moorish American, whoever came since 1913 to now. We recognize Brother Emily Ill, but can you give us some of the works of Brother Emily Ill before he passed form, before you come on our calls and try to question us about Brother Emily Ill? This is that same spirit that came on a call last week. And I want the Moors to know, everyone that's in the class with you is not in the faith with you. And everyone that's in this organization like you is not striving to follow the Prophet Noble Drew Ali in the first, second, and third form like you. I'm aware of these type of attitudes and mentalities out there. But you're not going to stop nothing going on here in this Moorish American National Republic. Yeah, we get behind Brother Sheikh John Givens Ill, the reincarnated prophet. And that's not going to change. Whether you bring up Emily Ill or Kirkman Bay or whoever, that ain't going to change nothing over here. So keep coming on. You're going to keep on meeting this resistance. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam. Thank you for that demonstration and add-on, Deputy Sheikh Roy Bey. Appreciate you much, beloved. Islam. Islam, Sheikh Orton Bey, you have the floor.
Islam, beloved. Islam, appreciate you. Islam Moors, giving thanks to our good brother that spoke prior to me, good brother Kason Bey, and our good brother Deputy Sheikh Roy Bey, in reference to our subject matter. And again, re-rising to my highest heights, give all perfect praise to our Mother, Father, God of the universe, whom we Moors refer to as Allah. Giving all honors to our last prophet in these last days and time, our illustrious Hebrew prophet, Honorable Prophet Noble Drew Allah, first, second, and third form. All right. I heard the question. Let me hear the question one more time. Deputy Sheikh Ray Bey gave a beautiful, emotional testimony, so I didn't forget what I was about to say.
Islam, yeah, he came with that fire. Yeah. The question reads, why is it Moors never speak on Emily Ill or recognize him? Islam?
Indeed. All right. Islam. And like I said, the brothers answered the question beautifully. Like I said, we can't speak for all Moorish Americans. And again, we can only deal with what we do. And if you go to our website, you will see other brothers that's spoken about. And again, man is measured by his words, his actions, and his deeds. So just to reinstate, again, we know that Grand Sheikh Millie Ill, he would be placed in position when the prophet was away to be the head of the temples. All right, we know that. But again, we have to be more understanding of our prophet's work and his literature and get an understanding of what's going on. All right, so like our brother stated, the prophet had conspirators around him. I'm not saying that Grand Sheikh Millie Ill was a conspirator. I'm not saying that, but prophet did have those around. So our prophet Noble Drew Ali was an adept. So again, he put the information out there, and for those that seek and will hear his voice, we will understand what must be done. So I'm going to start with Act 6. And this is where a lot of people miss the big point. All right. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they must know that they are a part and parcel of the said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. Now here's the rebuttal. But he told you it's a must that you proclaim your nationality. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. So let's start right there, because we got a rebuttal. So it's a must that you proclaim your nationality, but this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. So I'm going that way in reference to, because when Prophet Noble Drew Ali was on the scene, we were under common law. The New Deal came in 1933. The Europeans, the Moors, they was egotistical, ego tripping, saying, oh, I'm the leader, I'm the leader. The Europeans said, guess what? These Negroes don't know what they got. Let's put them back in slavery. 1933 comes around, what they have, the New Deal, the birth certificate. All right, Social Security came in 1939. All right, well, the free Federal Security Agents in 1935, and then they changed the name to the Social Security Administration in 1939. This is how they re-enslaved us and put us back under that 14th Amendment with these contracts. All right, the New Deal. So, dealing with our prophets' literature, but this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized. So let's go through the history, because it's only one so-called Negro that was recognized as a Negro who effectuated the teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. All right? And that good brother is Grand Sheik Richardson Dingle Ill, who was the first so-called Negro to throw off those shackles and be recognized and registered in the federal government as a Moroccan, descendants of Moroccan and born in America. Oh, the prophet said we Moorish Americans, but if we go to our 101s, you got some keys there. Why are we Moorish Americans? Because we are descendants of Moroccans and born in America. So if that's the key, and you see this brother is the only, after Prophet Noble Drew Ali transformed, and with these birth certificates and Social Security cards, it was only one who was recognized and utilized these teachings. Our good brother Grand Sheik Richardson Dingle Ill utilized the 101s and chapter, I think what was that? Chapter 45. Let me see the Vietnam. Chapter 47, verses 9 through 12. And he used 101's question 90 and 91. Can a man be a Negro? No. Why? Because man is made in the image and after the likeness of God Allah. So here it is. We see our prophets' teachings manifesting on a level where it's recognized. And now we can see, just as we can see our prophet, we can see his demonstrations and his lessons being fulfilled by our good brother Grand Sheik Richardson Dingle Ill. All right. So again, not to put no one down, we give honor when honor is due. And man is acknowledged, and he is tested by his words, his actions, and his deeds. All right. So we give honor to all those that came. We give honor to our brothers and sisters who still in the black status, our historians, our lecturers that come up with all this information about the black period, the black pharaohs and things of this nature. We give honor to all of them and their work. We give honor to Horace Butler and his work. But we still have to make our lessons and our information that we receive applicable. We have to apply it. How do we apply it? This is what I believe our good brother, Deputy Sheik Roy Bay, was saying. Our brother, Nearly Ill, made his transition right after the Prophet. We are still dealing with that internal strife of egotistical, I'm the leader. So when the smoke is cleared and we can see it's Grand Sheik Richardson Dingle Ill who dealt with that rebuttal. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name in the government in which they live. This is the key, Mo. You got to do it where you live at. You can't just say you're a Moorish American. You got to go back in their system and let Ron know, yo, you got an error on me, bro. We got to get this off. You got me in a defiant state. I'm not honoring my ancient mothers and my ancient fathers. Let's deal with the lessons of the Prophet and see those who effectuated and put his information to work and got a favorable reply. And with that, I'll put a period behind my statements and yield the floor. Appreciate you, Brother Sanders Bay. Peace.
Islam. And thank you for that beautiful demonstration and add-on, Sheik Orton Bay. Appreciate you much. Islam. At this time, if there's anyone who has any questions, comments, concerns.
Islam.
Islam there, my good sister, Deputy Sheik Alyssa Thomas Bay. You have the floor.
Giving thanks, brother. Islam, this is Deputy Sheik Alyssa Thomas Bay. First, I'd like to rise. I give all for praise to Allah, all of the divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammed, Buddha, and Confucius, our prophet in these days and time, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, our national Grand Sheik, all of our national officials, and all of my brothers and sisters in the court. I greet you all with Islam. First of all, beautiful demonstration that was put on the floor by our Sheik and our Deputy Sheik and everyone that spoke before me. There's really not much to say because they both covered it so well, but I just wanted to simply say this. I'm assuming the question is geared towards why our temple probably doesn't speak about the brother. And I just want to say this. There's different fractions. If we keep it real and we be realistic about the situation, because I'm very practical, there's different fractions. We have many different fractions, and within every fraction, there is a Grand Sheik, there's a doctrine, there is information that we follow and that we learn from, a school of thought and learning and different things that we learn about. And I think that it's natural for anyone, depending on what fraction you're under, you're going to speak more about that leader, that head. And I don't think it has any malice because I've heard brothers and sisters speak about the Grand Sheik Mealy L plenty of times, but if it's pertaining to directly saying like why this temple, it's no malice. I don't think it has anything to do with malice. It's more of if you're dealing with a certain fraction, then you're going to deal with that fraction. You're going to speak more about who you're learning from, who got things done and things that you're kind of implementing. So it's just natural for us to do that as brothers and sisters without it being something intentional or it being turned into, oh, you're not speaking about this person because you don't want to acknowledge them or you're being disrespectful. Not at all. Because if you go to any other fraction, then you know, the fractions that follow Emily L, they're going to speak about him. The fractions that follow C. Kirkman Bay, they're going to speak about him. That is just natural. So that's just a question, like, I think at the end of the day, you could ask any fraction that, why they don't speak about someone else or another Grand Sheik. It's just natural for you to speak more about your lineage. And that's all I want to say. And with that, I'd like to say Islam and peace.
And thank you for that beautiful demonstration, our sister, Deputy Sheik Alyssa Thomas Bay. Definitely love when our sisters speak up and bring that balance. You know, we need you. Definitely appreciate your demonstration, beloved Islam. Well, Islam.
And may I be heard?
You can be heard. You have the floor.
Islam, and I thank you very much. This is Brother Kason Bay from Texas Republic. Just again, I wanted to say to all, thank you very much for the passion. I know that these conversations tend to make individuals feel certain kind of ways, but let's just be honest. I have to say I love the Moabites' demonstrations. There are a lot of different factions out here. We do speak on different leads, temple, okay? But it should never be a point to where one should feel militant about either side if we all represent the prophet, even like the Sheikh Gordon Bay was saying. I mean, like at the end of the day, if we're looking at the literature, if we're really all Moorish Americans, if we're all focused on Allah, on the prophet, I mean, we're all here to learn. It really shouldn't matter. It shouldn't be a militancy issue. And I can tell you right now, there's a lot of Moorish Americans who probably won't speak on it, but they don't come to temples because of that type of militancy. Whether it's from a Rasidi Hill, whether it's from a Braswell Bay, whether it's from Chicago Pier, it doesn't matter. It's the militancy that bothers and runs so many Moorish Americans away. When there's questions posed like this, I think it would be better suited to maybe get a soft edge and understand that people do come from different places. And even if they speak about it to some degree of understanding that they have, there's always more understanding to have. As a body, as a whole, I think that we should understand that, and maybe we would attract more, and maybe we can get a little bit more done. Islam and peace.
Islam. And thank you for your added commentary on the subject matter. And I would just like to add one thing on as well. Well, you know, the question being the way why is it Moors never speak on the mentally ill or recognize him? Well, for one thing, when you look at our authority, you see that his name is actually on the authority. So his name is on the authority that our prophet established. All right. August 1st, 1928, 2:52 p.m. That's our authority right there. So his name, Emily Ill, his name is on there. So I mean, to me, I think it's kind of like more or less like some kind of nitpick type thing where it doesn't matter what fraction you come from. If you got the same authority, you're gonna see his name is right there. So sometimes, I mean, we as Moors, we get a little bit carried away and we want to get to, you know, hollering names and hollering fractions and all of these things like we in some kind of social organization. But the authority, his name is on authority. Nobody can change that. It's there. So, I mean, with that being said, it doesn't have to be, you know, oh, yeah, you know, why they don't never speak on him. Oh, all right. If they don't speak on him, he's already recognized because he's on authority. So, I mean, that's just me, you know, adding on to what everyone else said. But yeah, the question is a little, you know, I mean, why they never speak on him. I mean, if he transitioned quickly right after the prophet, I mean, what else more is there to say? I mean, he's part of the establishment of the authority. And that's been since 1928 and it's still relevant to this day. So he is recognized. It's just maybe he's not recognized how people want him to be recognized. But like we say, a man is recognized by his words, works, and deeds. And with that, I put a period behind my conversation, and we'll get on to the third and final question. Islam, is that someone trying to come through?
Islam, I was, but if you want to go on, Brother Cornelius,
Go ahead, bro. You go ahead, Deputy Sheikh Roy Bay. You got it.
All right, Islam. Yeah, I just want to camel back off the brother's statement just now, respectfully. So, you know, militancy should not be confused with passion. And I'm a passionate brother when it comes to certain things. This particular organization here that we represent, this grand body has long been the black sheep, or they tried to make us the black sheep of the Moorish community due to a lack of understanding and degree. And so I just want the brother to know that we have brothers and sisters over here who are just ready to stand up for what we represent. That's all. We're just ready to stand up, stand tall, and stand strong. And if we allow anyone to come and try to tear down the internal educational infrastructure that we are building upon. See, I see that as an attack, an indirect or direct attack on our national leadership over here. And so when you attack the leader, you attack us all. And we're just not going to have it no more. We've been nice guys long enough. The jig is up. The jig is up. I've been hearing this talk about Millie Ill, Kurtman Bay, and John Gibbons Ill for years. This is where we at and our gift of understanding, the treasures of Allah. We just ain't going to have it no more. No more nice guys. We coming out, sword sharp, swinging it. And we still love you, no doubt about it. But to try to come against this Moorish school of law and history, Sheikh John Gibbons Ill, Grand Sheikh Richardson Dingle Ill, our national Grand Sheikh Joe Bratton Bay, we ain't playing a nice guy role. I know I'm not. And that's just hands down with me. Peace. I'm done.
Islam. And thank you for that beautiful add-on to commentary. And you know, I get it. We all are passionate about what we're doing and what we have. And you know, we all just need to, you know, sit still for a minute and look at things for what they really are instead of what they seem to be, and we'll be all right. It's all things sometimes just simply a misunderstanding. And with that, I put a period behind that, and I'll bring the third and final question on the floor for this evening. Our third and final question on the floor this evening. Okay, we know last week we had a little situation, but nevertheless, we're here now, and last week is gone, and we're here today. So our last question on the floor reads, please finish explaining the confusion concerning the passing of the 13th Amendment with its 20 sections. Islam. So we still have some lingering, explaining the confusion. Well, there's no confusion, there's a conspiracy, but the confusion would be for someone to understand it. So the question reads, please finish explaining the confusion concerning the passing of the 13th Amendment with its 20 sections. Islam, you press star, state your name and where you're calling from. We have a total of 60 lines on the call. We'd like to thank you all for your presence and your energies. At this time, we have, please finish explaining the confusion concerning the passing of the 13th Amendment with its 20 sections. Islam? Islam, brother Michael Jr., you have the floor. Was that someone else coming in?
That was me. I can yield to you, brother.
Islam, Sheikh. Appreciate you much, Sheikh. Islam, brother Michael Simpson L. Jr., you have the floor.
Islam, thank you much, good brother Sanders Bay. Brother Michael Simpson L. Jr., calling out of Wayne County, Michigan Republic. We rise into my highest heights, all perfect praises to Allah and to our illustrious Hebrew prophet, Noble Jew Allah, in his first, second, and third form. Well, to clean up the confusion, we know that the pale skins, they pretty good with using wordplay and the bait and switch. So we know that the vote count for the 1320, they used the same vote count and just passed it for the 13-2. But we know the 13-2, they struck it down. And the 1320, they rejected it, but Lincoln brought it back to the floor for it to get passed. So in the 13th Amendment with 2 sections, it states slavery or involuntary servitude is outlawed except with the punishment of a crime. It doesn't say abolished. It does not. So when you go into the 1320, it said it has abolished and should never be tolerated, and the citizens are forever free. It doesn't say that in the 13.2. because as good brother Isaiah Orton Bay stated in the last question, when he mentioned the New Deal with the re-enslavement of the Moors in 1933, this is another example that shows you that slavery is alive and kicking. Because predominantly in the prison industrial complex, which is a privatized organization, predominantly the people that's being locked up are people that look like us, are Asiatics. And most people that's being locked up, the crimes are either bogus or they're innocent. So the 13-2 did not free anybody. Because just look at the language. The language is stating exactly what it states. And you can look no further than the prison industrial complex. And I'll put a period behind my commentary right there. Islam and peace.
Islam. And thank you for that beautiful demonstration and getting the ball started and rolling. Our good brother Michael Simpson L. Jr. Appreciate you much, beloved. Islam. At this time, you can come to the floor, Sheikh Orton Bay. You'll be our last demonstration before I bring National Grand on. Islam? Islam, Sheikh Orton Bay.
I'm sorry, I was still muted. Can I be heard now?
You can be heard loud and clear. You have the floor. You'll be the last demonstration before I bring National Grand on. Islam?
All right, appreciate you more. Islam Moorish, good brother Sheikh Orton Bay, rising again to the highest heights. We give all perfect praise to our Mother, Father, God of the universe, whom we Moors refer to as Allah. Giving our honors to our last prophet in these last days and times, our illustrious Hebrew prophet, the honorable prophet, noble Jew Allah, first, second, and third form. All right. For time's sake, I was going to ask if the questioner was on the call to see what was the confusion, but for time's sake, I'm about to bring National Grand on. The confusion can be cleared up by getting into our Moorish School of Law and History and starting to get into some of these historical accounts and get a better understanding during that time, 1865, what was going on. Our students that's in our school, Moorish School of Law and History, we're made aware of a book called The Great Conspiracy. Our good brother, Deputy Sheikh Cookbay, he gave a beautiful demonstration last week just to show you once you go through the school and you actually start to study the information, you can build and make your truth. But we need information that's solid to get an understanding. So, like I said, the confusion can always be cleared out. We have a federal case. I don't know how many times we have to talk about this, but we have the only adjudicated federal case to substantiate everything what we teach and preach about over here from the 70s, 1970s, a sealed case. The case number was given out last week. Our National Grand Sheikh gave everyone that case number and offered those to try to research it and see if you can find it. We have it, but we want you guys to see if you can find it. Our truth is right here. We have our proof. The only adjudicated case. And the motion to dismiss the case was that the 13th with 2, the 14th and the 15th Amendments does not reflect the true provisions of the 13th Amendment with 20 sections. So if the 13th Amendment with 20 sections was never lawfully ratified and never passed by 3/4 of the states, why did they go through and tell a brother that pled guilty first and then came and represented himself according to this doctrine, separated himself from the group, and he did not do the jail time? How many of our brothers and sisters are in jail for so-called marijuana? A couple of ounces, a couple of grams. We are doing time. This brother was facing 30 years. He got a year probation to develop therapy reality skills. What is that? There's no confusion. The confusion is the lack of understanding. We have to take our time with this information because, again, it was a great conspiracy. If we don't think that this was a conspiracy and we think that the man and what he put out for us to see is the truth, we need to go back to our prophet's literature because we strayed after the gods of Europe whom we knew nothing of, and they fleeced us. So if they've been fleecing us since 1774, what makes you think they're not fleecing you in 2021? With that, I'll put a period behind my statements, and our National Grand Sheik going to bring us home. Islam, beloved. Appreciate you. Peace.
Islam. And thank you for that beautiful demonstration and add-on, Sheikh Orton Bey. Appreciate you much, beloved. Islam. Well, my good people, we have come down to that good time of the day. And as we have a total of 65 lines on the call, we'd like to thank you all for your presence and your energies. But at this time, I would like to ask you to mute your line and remain muted as I introduce and bring to the floor the National Grand Sheik of the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America Incorporated, number 13, the Moorish American National Republic, is none other than my brother, your brother, our brother, the National Grand Sheik, Joel Bratton Bey. Islam, their National Grand. You can press star and take us home. Islam?
Islam, Islam, Islam. Thank you, my noble brother. I'm glad to hear your vibration and everyone else. I'm trusting that the family is well and safe and everyone else that's on this call. Once again, it's always a pleasure and honor to be a part of all of you and for us to have a dialogue pertaining to the issues and concerns that we need to have pertaining to us as a people, because we need to have some solutions to the problems, and we the question and the answer. So it's time for us to give the solution. It's not what we think, feel, or believe, but it's what we know. And if man or woman say they know, then they must be what they know. And that's why so many of us have joined this great organization, which is the Moorish Science Temple of America, under our founder, the Honorable Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So without further ado, as always, I'm going to rise to my highest height and give all my love and praise to our God, Allah. It's good to know your God. And giving honor to all of our ancestors, those that we speak of and those that we don't. There's so much a part of us and in us and around us. Giving honor to all of the divine prophets, namely Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. And our most illustrious Hebrew prophet is none other than the Honorable Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who's our Savior as well as our Redeemer. Giving honor to all of the Moorish staff and officials who I greatly appreciate, and giving honor to all of our members and all of our people in general, and all of you noble brothers and sisters who's on this call with us this evening. It's my honor to be with you. Islam, Islam, Islam. Thank you much. Well, these questions, there's 3 questions this evening, but what I want to do, because I'm going to have to get in, this question about the 13th Amendment is going to be a little bit long. Well, I ain't going to say long, but it's going to be more involved than the other 2 questions. So I want to just deal with the first question, the first and the second question first before I get into the last question that's on the floor. And I believe that first question was, what's the difference between using Moorish Science Temple of America and Moorish Science Temple? And the prophet switched it up in Acts 7. Well, as was stated by our noble brothers, Sheikh Orton Bey did an excellent job, and others pertaining to that question. And I'll just say this, just a camelback, not to be redundant. Well, as we know, our prophet established the Moorish Science Temple of America. That's the corporate name that has been filed in Cook County under the Form 1099, August 1st, 2:52 p.m., 1928. No doubt. And see, the organization is a movement, and even though you might see the word the Moorish Science Temple of America, or maybe the Moorish Science Temple, but there's other wordings that relate to the foundation, just like in instance, when you go into the Moorish literature, there's certain portions of that
document that references the Moorish Science Temple of America, it references the Moorish Science Temple, and it also references the Moorish Divine and National Movement. So wherever or whatever wordings you choose to use, it's still going to relate to the foundation of the movement. And it's just like when you deal with the Prophet's Plea to the Nation, when he made reference to the statement, he said, our divine and national movement. He didn't say the Moorish Science Temple of America. He said our divine and national movement. And then as you go further into that particular section, he utilized the word divine and national movement quite frequently. And as you continue to read the prophet's literature, when you go into the voice of the prophet, he makes reference to the Moorish Science Temple of America. He makes reference to the word divine movement. And then he's saying that the Negro problem is being solved only as it can, and that is by the Moorish divine movement. So these words are congruous, if you will, and I really don't, we shouldn't chime into the specifics in that light, because as I go through the Moorish literature, you see, even when it could be a typo, could be, but even when you go to the section where it says the prophet announces his authority and power, it says forced to make changes all governors and other officers of the Moorish Science Temple. It didn't say America, but like I said, it could be a typo. But nevertheless, we don't need to chime in and just lay on something like that. Let's deal with the message. Because a lot that we have to understand when the prophet transitioned, you had a lot of his wordings changed. A lot of the literature have changed. A sentence has been deleted here or there. Certain words were extracted and certain words were added. So we got to be very careful on what it is that we're dealing with, but get to the gut of what the prophet laid down for us and stand on that always. So even if you want to say the Moorish Science Temple in your conversations, you still relating to the Moorish Science Temple of America. And I've said on many occasions, the Moorish Science Temple of America means the Moors had the science in the temples of the Americas. We had it then, and we had it there. Or then. We had it then, and we still have it now. So you can see the importance of it. And, you know, a lot of times we want to study man and not the Lord. So just be a little bit more cognizant of what it is that you really want to get some closure with, and you're playing with words. But the movement itself is solid. And its foundation is the Moorish Science of America. It's a movement, so things don't stand still. It moves. It grows. So you can add to it, but you can't take anything away from its foundation. So that's where we are. So I just wanted to add that. And going to question number 2, dealing with, see, the question is, why is it Moors? They don't specify us, and a lot of the temples don't speak about Miliel. It says, why is it Moors never speak on Miliel or recognize him? Well, see, I know these type questions are going to come up, and even when you look at our founder and what he demonstrates when he said, we honor all the divine prophets, but he gave just 4, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. There's other prophets that is in Scripture that has done great works and deeds. But the prophet specified the 4 for a reason. I'm not going to get into it right now. So just because he specified those 4, that don't mean that we don't honor all. And a lot of times we don't know all. So basically that's why when I give honor, and because I know these things are going to come up, I don't specify everyone. I say we give honor to all of our ancestors, those that we speak of and those that we don't. We don't specify Grand Chief Richard Dingley, Elternio, and others. So me personally, because I know how people are, so when I say we honor all those prophets that we speak of and those that we don't. So whatever one I haven't made mention of, it falls into the categories of the ones that I haven't spoken of, but they're there. I'm giving those individuals their respect and honor, even though their names are not being mentioned. So we have to understand the significance of what this movement is. This is Moorish science. And a lot of times we don't have to just pick one little thing and run with it, or you want to destroy the messenger instead of dealing with the message. So all I'm saying is that I realize that people are very passionate about certain individuals, and we are taught that a man is truly known by his words, works, and deeds. And as was stated, I honor Emilio and all of them. But just like it was stated, a person is known by his words, works, and deeds. His tenure was short. And when you look at the record, what is it that he has contributed pertaining to Noble Drew Ali? Our prophet put him in the seat for a reason. But then his tenure was short, and he didn't have a lot of time to implement certain things. So dealing with the words, works, and deeds is not really recorded. So that don't negate him being honored, because he's part of the movement. He was with Noble Drew Ali, our prophet. So just because you don't mention his name, that don't mean he's not being honored. And there's so many others that have done great words, works, and deeds that we don't mention. So let's not gravitate to something that you want to make a big to-do about, if you will. But here in this organization, we honor all of our ancestors. We do. And just because we don't make mention of the names, that don't mean that they're not honored in our hearts and our minds. It's just that you don't hear certain words. So basically, we want to honor our prophet Noble Drew Ali, the main one. And if we just say his name, that's fine with me, because he is the catch-all to everything and everyone else. Because he's the only one who brought us our nationality and birthright, and he was the only one that was divinely prepared and sent to us. So if we include others, great. Nothing wrong with that. But we don't want to have the people with a distorted mind and thinking that just because we don't mention a name that maybe some other fraction or whomever may have in their hearts to mention. So if you mention that individual, great. But don't look or spread that like just because the name is not being mentioned, that means that we don't honor or respect that individual. That's not our case here. Because our first principle is love, and we spread this love regardless of what anyone think or feel. We're giving you the exact understanding of where we're coming from, dealing with when we give honor. So I just wanted to clear that up, and trusting that we can get a better understanding on what it is just because we don't refer to that individual. Like I said, there's many Moors ancestry that we could speak on that we don't, but they're still our ancestry. So just clean that slate, Mose, and realize that coming from this organization, we honor everybody, even though we don't speak the names from time to time, but they're in our hearts, our minds, and truly our soul. So just remember that we're always going to generate the love to our ancestry, because they are us and we are them. And when you see a brother or sister, you don't see a part of yourself. So everybody have a role to play, and we're here for a reason and a season. So that's what we need to understand and demonstrate. So I just wanted to clear that up. Okay. Trusting everybody got to understand, at least for me, where I'm standing with all of that. Okay. Let's deal with this 13th Amendment again. Well, last week there was some controversy and discussion about it. And Mose, so we got to understand that all of this is relevant to our prophet's teachings dealing with Moorish science. And so many of us will say, well, the prophet didn't bring naturalization, he brought nationalization. And I've said on many occasions, will show me in any of the prophet's literature where he used either one of the words. I haven't seen it, but this is Moorish science. So then check it. If you say the prophet brought us nationalization and we nationalize people, right? So when you look up the word, the definition of nationalization, then this is what it says. Now open your minds, people, and be very serious about what you're going to hear pertaining to the definition about nationalization. In the 5th edition of Black's Law, nationalization, it says the acquisition and control of privately owned business by government. Say that again. We running around talking about, well, we was naturalized. Okay. When the prophet did nationalize this whole Western Hemisphere, he did that. He did that. Government to government. But yet we haven't manifest that nationalization because of the laws we under. We have laws of freedom has not been enforced. So no individual can nationalize anyone. It has to be government to government. So once again, the definition for nationalization is the acquisition and control of privately owned business by government. And you can see as we speak under these laws, the government has acquired and they are in control of the privately owned businesses of the people under these de facto laws. So even when you deal with the word denationalization, it says this, as applied to a person. Now we know in law person means corporation and it also means natural born. So the question is, which one are we? Then it says, as applied to a person, the act of depriving him of national rights or status. That's denationalization. So that's why even in Timothy Dingley's book, there was a typo there because he used both words. It should have been naturalization or nationalization. That's where it comes in. So now we know the word naturalization means the process of acquiring citizenship. After birth, it's the process of acquiring nationality. It's the process of acquiring nationality after birth, which entitles you to what? The privilege of citizenship. And then when you relate back to the laws itself that freed us, dealing with the March 31st, 1864, the term naturalization, when it says by complying or compliance with the requirements of this law, which is naturalization, they become citizens entitled to all the rights and privileges and immunities of the native Hebrew. So you don't want to go on this page. You want to deal with nationalization, deal with the acquisition and control of privately owned business by the government, but yet you have the term naturalization, and the root word for naturalization is natural, and we want to be natural beings, but you don't want to deal with the process of acquiring nationality after birth, which entitles you to the privilege of citizenship. You don't want that one. You want to fight that and stay with nationalization, where somebody has indoctrinated your mind, because the prophet didn't bring it to us. He didn't bring even one of the words. But we are in Moorish science and under his instruction and his teaching. So once again, if he's going to refer to us to the Free National Constitution, which most of Moors don't know what it is or how it applies, but in dealing with research, law, and history, and the foundation of this government, so when you go into your Free National Constitution, which is the organic constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4, it says that we have to establish a uniform rule of naturalization, taking you all the way back to the Hebrew code that's inscribed on the Liberty Bell. So you have two monuments here in this Western Hemisphere that identifies us, but yet we don't know because they're not going to teach it. You have the Statue of Liberty, you have the Liberty Bell. Both of those monuments is relative to us. It's to us. France crafted the Statue of Liberty, sent it to this country because we won the Civil War, which they're not going to teach. The South was winning the war until Lincoln emancipated us and we fought for our freedom, and we are the ones who won that war. That's why France crafted that Statue of Liberty, because it was a sister in chains. And if you want to see the replica of the original Statue of Liberty, you have to go to the Stromberg Museum in New York, and you will see what the original Statue of Liberty looks like. So now we have the Liberty Bell, which is symbolic to us. It's a beacon light to guide us back to our ancestral foundation. That's why on the top of the bell is divine inscription, Leviticus 25:10. Ye shall hallow within the 50th year. Proclaim liberty throughout all the land, unto all the inhabitants thereof. And it shall be a jubilee unto you to do what? To return every man unto his possession, and every man unto his family. So the only way that you can be returned to your possession and your family is through the naturalization process. That's why they had to deal with the debate of slavery on March 31st, 1864 in the Senate. And they agreed, confirmed, that the Levitical Code or the Hebrew law is the only law to resolve it. So we need to ask ourselves, did we ever comply with that requirement of naturalization? No. So the question is why? The reason why the government did not fulfill their obligation by naturalizing us, because if they had have done that, according to the Hebrew Code, then that means they would have to compensate us. And that means that they had to make us citizens. So they didn't do it. They put all this up under the rug. They assassinated Lincoln, you see. And then they came in with the 14th Amendment in 1868. And they re-enslaved us corporately. Under the 14th Amendment, Section 4 says that when you read Section 4 of the 14th Amendment, it says the validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts incurred for payment of pensions and bounties for services in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned. Shall not be questioned. Isn't that something? But neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt or obligation incurred in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or any claim for the loss or emancipation of any slave, but all such debts, obligation, and claims shall be held illegal and void. Now, check this. When you deal with Section 2 of the 13th Amendment with two sections, it says Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. When you go into the 14th Amendment, Section 5, it says the same thing. Congress shall have power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article. And when you go into the 15th Amendment, Section 2, Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Well, see, all that is a farce, because when you go back to the Free National Constitution, Article 1, Section 1, it says all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives. So you already have the process there, but see, they played the game verbally, and you got to remember that after Lincoln's assassination, the radical element had control of the Congress. So they could play word games however they wanted, and that's why even with the passage of the 1320, they took the passage of the House when the 1320 came through the House, and they voted January 31st, 1865. The vote was 119 to 56, 8 not voting. They took that same vote and moved it into the 13th Amendment with 2 sections to continue to lie, and they covered up the 13th Amendment with 20 sections, so we wouldn't sustain ourselves as a nation. So going back to this Levitical code, this naturalization piece, so if they are saying in the 14th Amendment, which is a de facto law, which is 3 dead badges, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments are considered 3 dead badges of law. So they're not, well, they say they ain't paying anything for us. Slaveholders or nothing. They're not going to do it. They still feisty. They still upset. So they made different moves to channel what's truth to make it false and the benefit for them. Dealing with law. Loving God governs all events, right? The seen as well as the unseen, and this is the unseen that we don't see. But they know it. But here it is, you have a naturalization process, and all the laws, all the wording pertaining to naturalization is stemming from the Hebrew law. That's the foundation of it, because that's ancient law. And that's why they made reference to it in that debate, talking about it was that common law. And it said that was the only remaining law. So to prove that something is wrong with that 14th Amendment, Section 4, when they say they're not paying anything, see, that's in violation of your 5th Amendment. The 5th article of your free national constitution says that you can't take a person's property without just compensation. It didn't say reparation, it says compensation. So why are we rallying behind nationalization? It's not for us. I just gave you the definition for denationalization as applied to a person, the act of depriving him of national rights or status. But you want to say you want to be nationalized. Come on, folks. We better than that. Not what I'm saying, what the record is saying. The law that our ancestors fought and died for is the Hebrew law. So then you have to understand, 9 days later, they took it to the Senate on the floor to vote on it. And they did that. So last week, the brother was saying that what I was talking about wasn't so. And he said it was rejected. We'll see when you go. Now, I had the journal of the Senate, official copy. I had the certified copies of it, too. I had the certified copies of the passage of the 1320 and these proclamations, which we don't know that they made permanent parts to the Constitution on December the 15th, 1862. The vote was 78 to 52, and this was regulated to the September 22nd, 1862 initial Emancipation Proclamation. It's all there. But we don't see any of these things, because they're surely not going to teach us and raise our thoughts and minds where we can have some substance in life in order to deal with pertaining to citizenship and our economic and social conditions. So, once again, I read this last week, and I'm going to come back with it again. It says, pending debate. This is the Journal of the Senate, April the 8th, 1864. The president announced that the morning owl had expired and called up for consideration the unfinished business of the Senate of yesterday. And the Senate resumed the consideration of the joint resolution X-16, proposing amendments to the Constitution of the United States. And let me just say this, because I was going to bring this to the brother's attention last week. See, when you want to research that 13th Amendment with 20 sections, it's going to be hard for you to get it through the archives if you don't know what to ask for. But we have it. But just to give you some bullet points on how to get it. Well, it's the 13th Amendment with 20 sections. The 38th Congress, Senate Joint Resolution 16. There's our 7 right there. See, it was a bill number S16. That means Senate Resolution 16. That was the bill number. So if you want to deal with the proclamations of the Oath of Amnesty, that proclamation number is 108, 13 Statute 737. And the supplement of the Emancipation Proclamation is Proclamation number 95, and that's the 12 Statute 1268. The initial preliminary proclamation is Proclamation 93, 12 Statute 1267. So I just wanted to add that now there's another piece where it also says that the preliminary proclamation is number 16 or 17. But I'm just letting you know how to get this, and when you want to deal with the compensated emancipation proclamation, you can't just go into this Google or wherever and put in the compensated emancipation proclamation. It's not going to come up. You got to say this. You got to indicate the second annual address to Congress, December the 1st, 1862. Okay, so let me go back to the debate and what was concurred. And it says, on the motion by Mr. Salisbury to amend the amendment made in committee of the whole by striking out the words Article 13, Section 1, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude. Now let me stop there. And let's look up the word involuntary, let's look up the word slavery. Then we're going to look up the word involuntary servitude. So slavery is this. The word slavery is the condition of a slave. That civil relation in which one man has absolute power over the life, fortune, and liberty of another. Then it says the 13th Amendment abolished slavery. Then they use the word abolish. That's what everybody told. 13th Amendment abolished slavery. Okay. But when you read what slavery is saying, the condition of a slave, that civil relation in which one man has absolute power over the life, fortune, and liberty of another. So you ask yourself, are we still being held as slaves? Does the man still have us under civil relations and absolute power over our lives and our fortune and our liberty? Does he? Ask yourselves that. So let's look at what involuntary servitude is. It says the condition of one who is compelled by force, coercion, or imprisonment, and against his will to labor for another, whether he is paid or not. And let me read this again. The condition of one who is compelled by force, coercion, or imprisonment, and against his will to labor for another, whether he is paid or not. I like to do it 3 times, but I'm just going to do it 2 times. And then when you look up the word involuntary, it says without will or power of choice, opposed to volition or desire. An involuntary act is that which is performed with constraint or with repugnance or without the will to do it. An action is involuntary then which is performed under duress, force, or coercion. So, let's get back to this. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except for a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place or place subject to their jurisdiction. And look, as the brother was saying earlier, the jails are filled up with us. See, they get paid for every inmate that comes in. They got to fill the beds. They get, I think, about $13,000 for each bed. And if these jails are not filled up, the state got to pay the government. So why do you think they just lock us up for the least little trivial thing? Because they making money. It's all about money with these people. Just like these shops. So, they get paid for these shots when they take these, when they gather the people and say, oh, I want you to, take the shot. I want you to be tested. They get paid to do all that. They get $13,000 for that. But we don't know these things. It's all about money with these people. Why do you think they want to gather you all up and everybody want to take this shot? And look at the pharmaceutical companies that's making all the money dealing with the shots. They don't tell you what's in the shots. That's where the poison is. And then they're going to give you sickly, what's the thing they put up in your nose? The Q-tip or whatever it is. And they got Nodas in there. And they put it all the way up in the nostrils. And there's this live tissue there that goes into your body. But they don't let you know. And they don't let you know about how many people getting sick and dying from these shots. And there they talking about, well, they got, I think it's Johnson & Johnson, man, they got a one-shot deal. Well, you take this shot, and you ain't got to take any other shots. So now what's going on? You either know what you're doing or you don't. But they use us as guinea pigs because it's all orchestrated on us mainly. But you'll see. So let me continue. Now, all this is pertaining to servitude. Now, many of us may think, well, that don't apply to me. Oh, yes, it does. We still being held as slaves. You know why? Because you still carrying the man's name. He still owns you. You're not Jones. You're not Williams or Carter. That's still him. You have a family reunion every year. The Carter's over there. The Jones is over here. The Williams over there. So who are these people? See, that's why Kunta Kinte didn't want to lose his name. So now he's no longer Kunta Kinte. He's Toby Jones. So if the slave master's name was Jones, then all his slaves were Jones. So we still being held as slaves. You know why? Because this policy has not been enforced, y'all. We corporate slaves. Then this is a government form, so when you fill out the form and you mark the box saying you're a U.S. citizen, they got you. You coming right back into the system as a corporate slave. That's why they can control you and do what they want to you. Because you state property. The government owns you. But we don't want to understand what's going on. We don't want to understand. I'm not a Moor. I'm a black man. I'm an African American. Let me mark the box. Contracting yourself right back into them, and they can do what they want to you. That's why your children don't belong to you, your wife, your husband. Discipline the child and bruise the child and see what happens. She wants the state come to your door, but that's your child. But the government is regulating you on how to raise your child. Something to think about. So let me get back to this. So then it says, Section 2, Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Now here we go. And inserting in lieu thereof the following. Now we come in with the 13th article with 20 sections. It says, Section 1, all persons shall have the right to peacefully to assemble and worship God according to the dictates of their own consciousness. So I ask our folks, as a collective, what conscience do you have? Do you have the conscience of your ancestors, or do you have his? He got us from the cradle to the grave. He forced us to go into the church. Christianity is not our religion, it's theirs. It's theirs. We had our own religion. Was not Kunta Kinte a Muslim? He didn't eat no swine. He knew his God. In his generation, he still knew. But the subsequent generations, they made sure we didn't know. They separated us. Better not let the white man know you could read or write. It was against the law to go to school. All of these things. See, they want to indoctrinate us with his ideology. And that's why they did all these things. But here it is, we fought a war to be free of all of that. We fought a war to get from under this dehumanization of black, negro, color, etc. These marks of slavery, they marks of slavery. And we fought a war and we won our freedom. But look at us to this day. We only know the laws that free us. Once we won that freedom, all the vestiges of slavery died with that. We was never to be called black, Negro, colored, etc. But see, we didn't have the know-how. Our colored delegation at the time, they had been indoctrinated with the white man's ideology, so quite naturally, they ain't going to talk to you proper because they don't know themselves. They only know what this man has infused with their mindset. So let's go to church. Let's speak to Jesus. Talk to Jesus. He's going to be our Savior. And they give you the image of Jesus, the pale-skinned guy with blonde hair and blue eyes, knowing all the time that's a lie. You go into the first chapter of Revelation, he'll tell you what Jesus looked like. Skin like burnt copper, hair like lamb's wool, eyes fiery red. So why won't they give you the truth so you can see yourself? They playing the show, big time. But we don't want to listen. We don't want to absorb the truth. We happy. We don't want to leave this man. We talk about freedom, but see, when you're free, you have a responsibility. For the longer we can get handouts, these granted privileges, we happy. I'm waiting for my check. I'm waiting for this or that. You know, the man that controls your habits control you. And how everything is being controlled is through some bogus laws that they put in front of us. And we got these cronies in the Congress who don't give a damn about your interests. Most of them are lawyers, and they go to these prestigious schools, and when they come out, their buddies are in the Senate here or there, and they got contracts with these corporations, so therefore their interest is about the money with the corporations, not about you. Then check it. If they supposed to be working in your behalf, now if the people don't want to do certain things, but yet your representative is supposed to represent you, and they go to Congress and they get their heads together, oh, well, you know, we're going to do this for them and just give them a little bit of this or that. But the money, now check this out. Now, Biden, they're supposed to get the Congress to pass this stimulus bill now. I think it's $1.6 trillion. Do you know only 6% of that or 9% of that coming to the people, the rest going overseas? They playing you people, big time. But they your representatives. So who's representing who? They surely ain't representing you. People down in the South being torn up by the weather, need help, snow coming, flooding, disease, pestilence. All this has been written. Read the 26th chapter of Leviticus, going to tell you what's going on right now, and Revelation. It's all in there. 7, 8, 9th chapter of Revelation is going to tell you all what's going on. And that 26th chapter of Leviticus will tell you what's happening to us. And why? Because we don't want to relent and honor our God. So you can't say that you don't know who your God is now. You can't say that you don't have your own consciousness now. Why do you think the prophet was sent to us? To give you the truth. Now here it is, you got the truth set you free, make you free, and keep you free, right? So now we dealing with these laws. Emancipation Proclamation, 13th Amendment with 20 sections. So, the Emancipation Proclamation freed us in the Southern States 1320, freed us nationwide. So now we know of the laws that set us free. But see, we blessed because average persons don't know the laws that set you free. If you ask the average person whether you got a college degree, but they're not on that page, just ask them. Do you consider yourself a free person? And if you say yes, tell me the law that freed us. They don't have a clue, but they got degrees around the wall and don't know something as important as this. So you come into this school of law and history, Moorish school of law and history, not a black school, but a Moorish school of law and history. People, oh wow, we the it. We the masters of everything. We the masters of the art of living and the science of life. Where do you think all these Europeans got their knowledge from? We've been on the planet thousands of years even before they was thought about. So somebody had to teach them. They didn't teach us. We taught them because we was here thousands of years. And the proof of it is 3/4 of the planet is Asiatic, 1/4 is them. But yet they put their names behind everything. Make like you didn't do nothing in society. You scum of the earth. People, when the Moors ruled Europe, we civilized them people. It was against the law for them to even bathe. We went in there and gave them life. They were living in the caves and the barns with the animals. They didn't know anything about nothing. All these artifacts, these buildings that you see that are so intricately engineered, you don't see that type of engineering in buildings no more. What these people give us now is square blocks. Everything is square. They don't even know if these buildings that we created back then lasted for so many years. And look at what's going on now. They don't know the intricate detail. But anyway, getting back to this. So we in the Moore School of Law and History. So you're in the school, why? Because now you are being taught how these laws made you free. You didn't know before. So you in this school, learning what should have been taught. But the man that control your habits, don't they control our education? So why don't we know about this? And anytime our folks or anyone go against the grain to try to bring this truth into the house, they're going to terminate you, blackball you, or even kill you. Because they don't want this truth to be revealed. And that's why when you talk this kind of talk, they know that you had to get it from a higher source because they didn't do it. They're going to look at you differently because you don't supposed to know this. So you in the school to learn how these laws set you free, well, how or what law set you free, and now you learn how these laws made you free. So once you learn how they have made you free, then you're going to stay free because now you know how to talk it, you know how to demonstrate, you know how to enforce it. But it's up to you. Can't nobody make you do anything, but you have the will to choose on which way to go. So here we go. So this says, all persons have the right to peacefully to assemble and worship God according to the dictates of their own consciences. And so the prophet brought us out nationality and birthright. He said, know thyself and your father God Allah. So now, once you know yourself, you know your God. So now your conscious level has came to a point. You're on the rise now. Now you know your God. So that takes you back to what? The Free National Constitution, which is the first article where it says, or the First Amendment where it says everybody have a right to religious freedom. So you see how this ties in? You have that religious freedom, but how can you be free of your religion when you don't know yourself? You only know what this man indoctrinated you with, him. So now you on your own conscience now. So now you coming back. Because now you have the right, because you're not a Negro anymore. You have a right to know your God. But look at so many of us now. 501c3, you done took the oath back to Rome. Rome still got you. You serving the Pope. You paying the Pope. You want to know where your money go, why these pastors and preachers want your money, tithes this, tithes that you keep in the church all day long, and they passing the plate. So you know most of that money got to go to the Vatican. But we don't know these things. You paying the Pope, your God. But yet you say you know your God. Please. Your God have a name. Who is it? Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Jesus said, don't worship me. Worship the one that sent me. But they don't tell you the name. He's known by many names. It's the one God. So let's continue. So then it says, now we go into section 2. The use of the public press shall not be obstructed. And look at what's going on there. you on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. And when you start talking about too many things that's not according to what they want you to talk about, they shut you down. But the law says you shouldn't be obstructed. But it says criminal publications made in one state against the lawful institution of another state shall not be allowed. So you don't supposed to be talking about other folks dealing with criminal publications. So that's going to keep you straight, keeping you straight. So then you go to Section 3. The right of citizens to free and lawful speech and public assembly shall not be denied. And look at what's going on. You got these news editors, they want to tell the truth, and they're being denied. They're going to jail. They're being subdued, blackballed. So you see what's going on with the government and laws that we don't know nothing about. There's more to it. But the Section 3 deals with your voting rights. That's why you don't need no 15th Amendment, because your voting rights is in Section 3. Because it says access of citizens. Now, but you got to be a citizen to get the access. Negro, black folks can never be a citizen because you don't have a national descent name. You go out here and vote. They got our entertainers and all about important people, as we say, speaking before the great white father, giving his verbiage to you because they getting paid to steer you in the wrong direction. They use you against you. But you don't know no better. You fall right into the loop. Well, Beyonce is saying this, Jay-Z is saying this, LeBron is saying so and so. Well, they must know. They got the money. Everybody getting paid. All the money that our people have, people, that allegedly supposed to be have made it. How come we don't have our own shopping centers, our own malls or whatever? Pull our money together and do something for us. That don't happen. Don't happen. We great consumers. Got more wealth than anybody, just don't know. That's where everybody can come into this country and get filthy rich. We've been here all of our lives and can't get $1 to get a loan, to do a business. But you don't realize why you're not getting it, because the reason why you're not getting it because they going according to the law. Negro has no rights that a white man is bound to respect. So when you say you're black, when they look at your application, they're going to put you in another category. And if they're going to give you a loan, they're going to double it up. But the other man, they're going to slide him into the door. But you got to work doubly hard to get the same fee. And that is because of how you classified and identified in the system. But you don't want to understand what this is. So it's more. So let me just continue. I'm not going to read all the 1320. So then I'm going to get into the passages of this and just get down to the Section 17 real quick of the 13th Amendment. It says, whenever any state wherein involuntary servitude is recognized or allowed, shall propose to abolish such servitude and shall apply for pecuniary existence therein, the Congress. Now it says may, but it's a must name because the states ratified this. It was a made prior to them ratifying it. Congress must, in this discretion, grant such relief not exceeding $100 for each person liberated. But Congress shall not propose such abolishment or relief to any state. See, I have a bill from Maryland, bill number 685. It's called the Emancipation in Maryland. And this particular bill gives you the steps, people, of how the governor is to apply to the executive through the Treasury to get paid. Give you the steps. So these people know what to do, but you got to give them this law to force them to do it, because you don't supposed to know about this. We don't supposed to be paying for anything. Everything's already paid for, but you don't know it. They're making so much money off of us, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But you have a means to right the wrong, but you don't want to accept what's being taught here. You go here, you go there, and you tried everything in this man's system of naught. But then when you hear the truth, you want to fight it. But there's nothing better. This is a policy pertaining to freedom. Don't we want to be free of this man's yoke? He has his knee. He has his foot on our neck. Don't you want to be free of that? We dying by the law, and he's living by it, and that law is Negro has no rights. Well, you say, I'm not a Negro, I'm a black man. It's the same thing. A Negro is nothing but a beast. Created. See, that man created this Negro. Now it's gotten out of control. And by him continuing to enslave us, he has enslaved himself now under this 14th Amendment. Now everybody niggas. Because it's all corporate. They all about the money. And this is the only way to nullify this whole system of what they've done to not just us, but everyone else. This is the only way out. I don't care what they try to do, what they talk about doing, they just playing us continuously. But please, people, I'm going to tell you, if we want to march anywhere, we can march up into that Capitol and set everybody, take all of them out of there. But they in our seats. But we can't do it as black people saying we shall overcome. We've already overcome. Go to Gettysburg. We've already overcome. But we ain't talking right. We talking civil rights. This is your divine natural right. And you got the law behind you because you know why and what is in front of the law? Your God. So this is divine law that we're talking about. The Emancipation Proclamation was a divine contractual agreement. It supersedes all contracts. I don't care what kind of contract you have because it's about your natural common law freedom. Why do you think the prophet has 1 foot on land and 1 foot coming out to sea, deal with the illustration on the 101 and the warning? When you read chapter 10 of the Revelation, he got all the law because he's divine. Whether it was land or sea, he got it all. That's why he took everything back according to his divine authority. 1099. There's no law hiding that. Rome know it, but we don't. So when you deal with section 17, it says when we're in involuntary servitude is recognized or allowed shall propose to abolish such servitude and shall apply for pecuniary assistance therein. So see, we got to get these governors to apply for the pecuniary assistance through bonds. See, that's why the prophet don't give up your birth certificate because you don't get paid through. That's a bond. That's a bonding instrument. They're making money off of you. So they got to use these bonds to pay the debt. But they owe us. They owe us through that bond. See, there's ways and means that we need to come together and retrieve what was lost. But you got to be right first. You can't ask for this or demand this as being black, Negroes, etc. You can't do it that way. You got to be real. You got to be natural. You got to come correct. Then you have a right to open your mouth. You don't have no right to open your mouth. You're still black, Negro, etc. That's why they're going to give you a sideline job. Grin in your face. Nigga, get back. You know, this thing is real, people. No joke. No joke at all. And so, see, when all these states ratified the proclamation in the 1320, that was it. Maryland was the second state to ratify. Illinois was the first state to ratify 1320. Oh, yeah. So let me just skip down and deal with section 19 real quick. Oh, no. Wait a minute. Going ahead of myself. Going back to the 1320 and its passage. Okay, now, when you see that, well, a lot of people have confused themselves with, and I think the brother was on this side. Okay, when you deal with, when they say in lieu of the 13th Amendment with 2 sections, inserting the 13th article with 20 sections, Then at the top of the page it says it was determined in the negative. So the question is, what was determined in the negative? You don't see no vote count, but they were talking about another bill prior to. Because when you deal with parliamentary procedures, it says on the question to concur in the amendment made in the committee of the whole. That's where we're going. So we bypassing where it says it was determined in the negative. We're going back to the question, deal with the amendment made in the committee of the whole. It was determined in the affirmative. Now they're going to give you the vote count. Then it says no further amendments being made to the joint resolution, because that's where we are, joint resolution SR 16. Order that it be engrossed and read a third time. The said resolution was to read the third time, and on the question, shall the joint resolution pass? And it was determined in the affirmative 38 to 6. See? So then it says on a motion, the title was amended to read a joint resolution submitting to the legislators of the several states a proposition to amend the Constitution of the United States. But yet, we'll see when it went to the House the first time, they refused it. They refused it. So then Lincoln got them to reconsider it. So they brought it back. They brought it back. Then it says, so the motion to reconsider was agreed to. The question again recurring on the passage of the said joint resolution. Mr. Ashley moved the previous question, which was second, and the main question ordered and put, shall the joint resolution pass? So the vote count was in the affirmative, 119 to 56, 8 not voting. Passed the House. And this was January 31st, 1865. February 1st, 1865, Lincoln signed the bill. But they switched it, y'all. I got that, but I'm not even going to get into that. Take a little bit more time to read what they did. But they did it. They switched it. But nevertheless, the law is what it is. Because, see, the 1320 is nowhere in the world, the 13th Amendment with 2 sections was passed because it don't reflect the provisions of the proclamation. So in the proclamation, it made reference to the term that we are forever free. Voluntary servitude shall not be, when you read section 19 of the 13th Amendment with 20 sections, it says when all of the several states shall have abolished slavery. And check this out, all those southern states that they made us think that they succeeded. No, they didn't. They were just in rebellion. All those southern states, before they could come back into the Union, they had to change their constitutions, people, to reflect the provisions of the proclamations in the 1320. Got that too. Got Maryland Constitution, Mississippi. But I'm just letting you know. So then it says when all the several states have abolished slavery, then and thereafter slavery or, and check it, slavery or involuntary servitude. Now I just gave you the definition about slavery and voluntary servitude. And then it says slavery or involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for a crime, shall never be established. Isn't that something? Shall never be established. So you see how they use the 13th Amendment to enslave us? Still? But this policy says it shall never be tolerated or established, except as a punishment for crime. But look at us. We Negroes up in these jails. We black folks. All they did is re-enslave us. Corporately now, they're using all these penal systems. Why do you think they're privatizing all? That's money, money, money. So what are they doing? That's the plantation there. They bring the corporations in there, and they got the inmates making car parts, components for all kind of electrical provisions and things of this nature. They're making all kinds of things up in these prisons and paying you 12 cents a day. And people, we better wake up and not just smell the coffee. We got to start drinking that bad boy because this is real. This is real. They use us big time. So then it says that involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, shall never be established or tolerated in any of the states or territories of the United States, and they shall be forever free. So you see this verbiage in the proclamation. You don't see it in the 13th Amendment with 2 sections at all, but it is in the 13th Amendment with 20 sections. So that's why you know it can't be the 13.2 that passed, because the 1320 enforces the proclamation. Why do you think our prophet Noble Jali said we must enforce the law to save the nation? So if he eliminates the 14th and 15th Amendment, then what law do we have to stand on that we must enforce? That's the 13th Amendment with its 20 sections, or the 13th article with 20 sections. That's what we got to enforce. Why? Because that sustain us as a nation and facilitate our nationality and birthright. We can't get it no other way. And if you got something better than this, I like to hear it. But I know you don't. But you want to fight this. Well, basically because we not professors with doctorate degrees, and we don't have degrees on the wall from prestigious schools out there, these Ivy League schools that, oh, I'm a Yale graduate, I'm from Harvard, Princeton, etc. So we don't meet the mold that so many of us want to chime into with this education. I don't like that word education. So when you look up the word education, it means you're being trained. I like the word learning. And we are being trained, because when you come out, you're still not working for you, you're still working for him. Taking all your energy to make himself rich. So peaceful. And then, like I said last week, we have too many components of law that the government has already confirmed pertain to what we're talking about. As was stated, we have the only Moorish case that's been adjudicated in our favor pertaining to what we teach and preach them with the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. And I want to read this a little bit because last week I didn't have the 1883 decision. I'm just going to read the last part because I wanted to read this to the brother last week. And a lot of times when people try to get this case, but see, there were 2 other cases that also confirm what I'm talking about. And there's a case called Diet versus Turner. There's another case which is called the State versus Phillips, 1975. You have another case called Coleman versus Miller. Then you look at the Tulane Law Review, the South Carolina Law Quarterly, and the Congressional Record, June 13, 1967, that's dealing with the 14th Amendment, where the Congress in 1967, 1967, declared the 14th Amendment unconstitutional again. But we don't know nothing about it. How come our legislators don't bring that up? Because they're part of the boule, and they are not going to disrupt the great white father position in government to satisfy themselves. Because when they do that, they get dismissed. So they can't talk this. Because the great white father is still in control. So let me read this piece and then I'm going to close out looking at the time. And this is the 1883 decision, case number 109 U.S. 3, 1883. Now this is 3 years prior to our prophet's birth. Our prophet's birth was January 8, 1886. They decided this case in 1883. Now look at the timeline, y'all. It was 5 civil rights cases, October 15th. March the 1st, 1875. They decided this October the 15th, 1883. And once again, case number 109 U.S. 3. So I'm going to read this last paragraph, these 2 last paragraphs, and then I'm going to put a period behind my conversation. It says this. Now remember too now, I read last week when the State Department, the Attorney General's office said they're going to prove what's wrong that the 13th Amendment only had 2 sections, but they couldn't do it. They said after their extensive research, they had been unable to determine when, how, and why the 1320 was rejected during the Civil War period. But the brother said that no, it wasn't the 1320, it was the 13.2 that passed. So my question to him was if They saying after their extensive research, and they got better extensive research capabilities than we do, so why didn't they come with the same vote count that it was rejected that he's talking about? It don't exist, people. And other federal agencies have confirmed, whether the military, we got documents for the military to confirming all of this, the U.S. State Department confirming all of this, Homeland Security. Y'all just don't know. But we got the paper trail to validate everything we talking about. And there's no other Moorish entity in this nation got a paper trail like we do. That's why the news media back in, if y'all got to vote the black and negro no more, it says in there that our temple location, which was on Howard Street back in the latter 70s, was a goddess of Moorish science across the nation. This is the news media saying that. These Moors wasn't on no national side back then, and they still not on it now. So let me continue with this about this civil rights case and Supreme Court decision. When a man has emerged from slavery, and by the aid of beneficent legislation has shaken off the inseparable encompassments of that state, there must be some stage in the progress of his elevation when he takes the rank of a mere citizen, follow me, y'all, and ceases to be the special favorite of the laws. And you see how all this applies to us now? And when his rights as a citizen or a man are to be protected in the ordinary modes by which other men's rights are protected, then there were thousands of free colored people in this country before the abolition of slavery, enjoying all the essential rights of life, liberty, and property the same as white citizens. Yet no one at that time thought that it was any invasion of their personal status as free men because they were not admitted to all the privileges enjoyed by white citizens, or because they were subject to discriminations in the enjoyment of accommodations and inns, public conveyances, and places of amusement. Mere discrimination on account of race or color were not regarded as badges of slavery. If since that time the enjoyment of equal rights in all of these respects have become established by constitutional enactment, it is not by force of the 13th Amendment, which merely abolishes slavery, but by force of the 14th and 15th Amendments. On the whole, we are of the opinion that no continence of authority for the passage of the law in question can be found in either the 13th or the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, and no other ground of authority for its passage being suggested, it must necessarily be declared void, at least so far as this operation in the several states is concerned. This conclusion disposes of the cases now under consideration in the cases of the U.S. versus Ryan and of Robinson versus Memphis and the C.R. Company. The judgments must be affirmed. In the other cases, the answer to be given will be that the first and second section of the Act of Congress of March 1st, 1875, entitled an act to protect all citizens in their civil and legal rights, are unconstitutional and void, and that judgment should be rendered upon the several indictments in those cases accordingly. And it is so ordered. Harlan J. Dissent. So you see, they don't read that last part. They leave that out. But like I said, if we weren't teaching and preaching the truth, people, we wouldn't have no foundation to have this school of law and history. We have too much ammunition What we giving you all is the Moab bomb. The Moab bomb is in place. And we're going to destroy all these lives. Blow them out of the sky, blow them out of the earth. We're going to take care of it. The Moab bomb. The serious bomb. And why would the government label that bomb the Moab bomb? They know. We just don't know. So with that, my good people, there's always more to this. But there's a time restraint. And there's so much more I would love to talk about with concrete proof to get you to realize the significance of what this is and how blessed you are to be a part of this great movement under the divine instructions and teachings of the Honorable Prophet Noble Drew Ali. There's no other man that was divinely prepared and sent to us that gave us our birthright and nationality, our flag, and our chart to substantiate us as a people. No one. That's why our God loves us so much, as he's always done. He always sent a prophet to his people to be his message to the people. And we must hearken to the voice of our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, in order for us to save this nation. And with that, I close you with love divine, always from my heart to you. Islam, Islam, Islam. Thank you all so much. Be peace. Thank you.
Islam. And thank you for summarizing our call, as you always do, and add the jewels and giving us the jewels that you have, the National Grand Sheik of the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement in North America Incorporated, number 13, the Moorish American National Republic, is none other than National Grand Sheik Joel Bratton Bey. Appreciate you much, National
Grand. You know what? I forgot one thing I didn't say. When the states ratified the 1320 was November the 18th, 1865. That's why the prophet said in our divine constitution and bylaws, he said slavery lasted until 1865. So everything took place in 1865. We got to know what happened. So I forgot to say that. Thank you, Mo.
Islam. And appreciate you, National Grand, for all you have done, will do, and haven't done yet. Love you much, National Grand.
Likewise, my brother. Be safe, man. Thank you.
Islam. Well, Islam Wars, we have a total of 58 lines on the call. And at this time, we're going to begin to close out. But you can catch us here next week's creation, same time, same space. As for us, the same way we open is the same way we're going to close. Can I please have everyone who is able to stand erect, facing towards the east, heels together, toes apart, separated at a 45-degree angle, upper arms parallel to the floor, forearms perpendicular, 5 fingers erect and together on the left, and 2 fingers erect and together on the right. Allah.
Allah.
The Father of the universe.
Father of the universe.
The Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Ameen. Trusting everyone has a safe rest of the week. Keep safe, stay sane. Until next Sunday's creation, much love and peace, peace, peace.